And it's really funny because I can go through all of my trainers and they have all said it to me a little bit different. I think Oded was one of the first people who told me, sit on your back pockets, or like sit down the back of your seat, or, sit down, sit down on your ass, to really be clear about it. And then I started riding with, Scott, and he would also be like, really stay anchored down in in the saddle. Charles always was about that of, lean back. It's like, it's really amazing when you think about, like when I think about Charles and like this whole, it was always like, what are the things he would always have us do? And it'd be like, lean behind the vertical, like get your butt in the tack, lengthen your reins and slow down, And then it was one of these interesting things, because why I keep riding with Charles after all these years is because he gives me some of the greatest feelings I get on my horses. And I'm lucky enough and really, fortunate to ride with really good people. But Charles gives me a feel on a horse that sometimes I didn't even know was in there. The horse is so light and so powerful, but it all started with leaning back, like get your bum in the saddle, then lengthen the reins, get the horse really over the back, slow down. So the horse has to really sit into the joints of the hind legs. And then by the end of the ride, you are sitting tall, your reins are short, and you're doing the most amazing extended trot on the diagonal that you've ever felt before. And so that's something we're going to talk about also in the lecture next week. But, then I also laugh about riding with Michael Barrisone. And, and he actually told me he got this from Allie, who, Allie Brock is now my coach. And so, she and he would always say, like, sit back in the tack. And I mean, we can say it so many different ways. You want to allow the 8 pounds of your head to drop down into the back of your seat bones. You want to sit back in the tack. Sit on your back pockets. Lean behind the vertical. Ride the horse's wave. There's a lot of really great. Yeah, and Kelly's saying, I remember making the working student do the Charles seat, which was leaning back behind the vertical every time I had them walking on a horse. Yeah, because it's like, oh, yeah, push the saddle down, Perkins, yes. Yep, oh, there's Charles, or there's Richard, sit back in the tack. I mean, it's so much about the seat and creating this following mechanism that you are not a hindrance, but that you actually go with, the horse. There's basically 3 ways we can use the seat. We can drive, we can hold, but then there's a really important part about harmonizing. And I had a really fun lesson today on Zoom with Pam Doolittle, who was in Wisconsin, and I was here in South Carolina. And, we were talking about, like, she needs to really focus on the harmonizing part and allow her horse. Like, she needs to ask him to do something and then allow him to do it. And so that's also like when we talk about where we're sitting in the saddle, like where we're able to actually be like loose enough to get out of the horse's way. And, as Charles would always say, you want your seat to be invisible to the horse. The greatest gift we can ever give to our horses is to be, invisible in that saddle, which means we become a part of him. And Charles would always talk about like the deep, adhesive, integrated seat. And, really sitting back in the tack, being able to let go with your groin and your thighs, and really, follow. So I keep laughing because there's a very funny story that I'm going to just share, because there's like over 50 of you on here. And I don't know if any of you have all heard this story, but it's pretty funny. So I think Fiji, I don't remember. It must have been like, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago. Anyway, I got like a phone call very early in the morning that they were wondering if I wanted to, if the USEF, you know, if they wanted, if I could come over and ride Fiji in this developing clinic with Kira Kirkland. And I mean, this is like dream come true. Dream come true. Kira is like one of my heroes, like complete. And so I don't know if somebody lost a shoe or somebody, I don't know what happened, but they called me, I was there. And so like Ann Gribbins is in the arena and she's like kind of helping translate, and she's like the coach, you know, at the time. So, and then like the whole like selection committee, so like Kathy Connolly and George, like everyone was there. I was the first ride in the morning, and I'm yeah, Michelle, yeah, make the headset fall off your pants. And Kelly, yes, you are right. So I'm riding with Kira, and it's like one of the most special moments of my life. She's like, oh, so I'm riding around. She's like, well, just show me what you're doing. Ride around. I'm like, okay. Oh my God, you know, I'm riding with Kira. Oh, this dream come true. And you know, I do whatever. And she's like, okay, come here a minute. I'm like, here it is. It's the Holy Grail. She's she's summoning me to come over because there's something really important she has to tell me. I felt like I was being knighted and I needed to like kneel down and like hold my hands up. Like, tell me the Holy Grail of the riding. And she looks at me and she goes, you know, you need to sit on your asshole. And I was like, wait, like what? And so like this shock on my face, and I was like, Kira Kirkland just said a-hole to me, and she's not talking about like the horses being an a-hole or the guy, you know, putting the plastic bag in the garbage. Nope, he's not the a-hole. We're talking about like mine, like my, like, and I'm processing this, and I'm like, oh my God, like I suck so much that Kira Kirkland has to tell me about my asshole. So my face is like, I'm processing this. You know, like clearly I must look like I am not understanding this. So she goes, you know, your anal ring. And I was like, whoa, la 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 la. I'm like, I got it at asshole lady. Like, okay, I know you're like the best rider in the world, but now we're talking about my private body parts, and I got it the first time around. So, and I just see Marcia commenting on this because yes, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with the AR. So it's capital A period, capital R period. And I was feeling like, oh my God, this is my dream come true. I'm finally in this clinic. And like we're talking about my AR. And then we all go to dinner and I'm sitting next to Toonie Page, who's like amazing rider, right? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. We started talking about my anal ring. I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I'm not wasn't the only person who got that lesson. And that's the thing, like, I think Toonie made the team that year. She definitely went to Europe. I mean, Toonie's amazing, and you know, has beautiful horses and sits great. You know, you would never look at Toonie's seat and be like, oh yeah, she needs to sit on the AR, you know? And so, like, if she's telling Toonie that, who's an amazing international Grand Prix rider, she got the lesson. I mean, I'm thinking like, well, I got the lesson. Of course, I got the lesson. Like, my horse isn't trying out for the team. But she told everyone that. Kira Kirkland told everybody about the AR. So, you know, if it's good enough for some of our top riders in the country, it is good enough for all of us. So, you know, sitting in the back of the tack and sit down on your back pockets, you know, all work pretty good. But there's kind of a secret society that all know what the AR is. So I'm welcoming almost all 70 of you into the private club of, you can just shout like, hey, sit on your AR, and you'll know there's only one spot. I mean, it is like a center balance point of, you can swing your arms, you can move your legs, because you are like sitting on your center of balance. So that's the story about that. And I don't know, I'll probably put that in the lecture because it's funny, right? And everyone remembers stuff when it's funny. So, you know, everyone's got their way to say it, but you know, if we all just, you know, riding around thinking about the AR, we're all going to get better, and our horses will go better. And so that is important about that. So let's all have a toast to the AR, of course, and also finding your tribe, and this too shall pass. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.